Hola, Mashapaka, Inez here. How you living? So, I'm bringing you a lesson that I might have to do in probably 2 or 3 parts. I don't remember. I don't know. I haven't tested it, but yeah, 2, 3 parts. So, I'm going to title this "The Lesson for the Skeptics." Yeah. So, listen. I have had some encounters lately about people stating Bible was written by man, so I don't read it. Yeah. Um, and I just like it's foolishness. Like how could you say such a thing, right? How could you utter such words out of your mouth? And not even think about what you're saying. Um, Anyways, so a couple weeks back, I was having a conversation with someone, and this is something they said to me, and I tried my best to, you know, prove to this person that what they said makes no sense. But I like to shake the dust off my feet and, as a testimony, walk away, leave it alone. But I also had a couple more instances, specifically this one with a young lady who had a book. She was sitting across the hall from me. We were at the same appointment, same time. And the book that she had Oprah and, what's his name? Olstein on there. So I don't know if it's like a collab thing. I don't know if one wrote it, the other. I don't know. Anyway, so I was like, hey, what's the book about? She's like, well, you manifesting your destiny. And I thought, okay. Yeah. And I said, well, you could just read the Bible. You don't have to manifest your destiny. The Bible. Our Abba gives us promises, and those promises, when we live according to his law, statutes, and commandments, live the way he has called us to live, then, he gives us desires of our heart, of course, within his will and his purpose. And so you should just read the Bible. So why don't you read the Bible? So I asked this question, and I can clearly see that something's changing as I ask this question. And so she responds to me, man wrote the Bible, so I don't believe anything in it. And so, of course, I'm sitting here like, did she just say that to me? Did she just say that to me? Because I got to come back right now. And so I looked at her and I go, I said, no, you just told me you don't read the Bible because man wrote it. I said, you do know you have a book in your hand right now that you're reading that man wrote. Yeah? And so when I said that to her, listen, if you can see fumes, like you could see it coming out of her ears, okay? She was so ticked off. The spirit completely changed. And I was like, whoa, what did I just do there? Right when I saw her react that way. And she goes, that's different. Well, no, it's not different. No, you just said the reason you don't read the, now I'm not responding this way, but you just said the reason you don't read the book is because man wrote it. Well, so I'm telling you, man wrote that book, so why do you read that book? Right? And I said, do you know anything about the Bible? Because the Bible is the best-selling book of all time. 100 million copies a year, annually, has not stopped. Most selling book of all time. Written over a span of 1,500 years, 3 continents, over 40 authors. And it's prophecy about itself, that the word would never fail and no one will ever destroy it, literally has come to pass. But you say you don't read it because man wrote it. I said it's the inspired word of Abba. He inspired through his Roach men to write the book. And I asked her, I said, do you think that men over a span of 1,500 years, 40 different people, would have been able to write a book chronologically in the way that they did, to where it all makes sense? Precept matches precept, confirms doctrine, those kinds of things. I'm like, do you think that would have been possible if, just mere men wrote the book? But I saw her getting really, really agitated, so I had to kind of stop. Yeah. And so, shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. And so I just left it alone. And I said, hey, I'll be here same time as you. If you want any questions answered, I'll be right across the hall. And I just kind of left her alone. But, 2 weeks ago, the other conversation I had, I couldn't get anywhere with that. And I just kind of left it alone again as a testimony against them. Just leave it alone. But point of my lesson today, yeah? And again, 3 parts. So I'm titling it again, Lesson for the Skeptic. And I just kind of want you to understand why written by man does not diminish the scripture's divine origin. Okay. So for you who do spout that nonsense, that foolishness, the Bible written by men, and why should I believe it? Well, I'm going to give you some scriptures. Okay. I'm going to use the First Covenant and the Renewed Covenant to explain to you why the scripture itself, though penned by men, okay, by human hands, is the divine, inspired, living testimony and word of our Abba, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawah. Okay? And so you said it's written by man, right? I'm talking to you, your neighbor, not you. Okay? Yes, it's true. It was written by man, right? The Bible was penned through human hands. However, rejecting the Bible solely on that basis makes no sense, my siblings, okay? Every book, philosophy, science, history, right? All of those religious texts out there, all of those books, right, were written by and recorded by men, okay? Yet billions of people all over the world trust and live by those books. Okay? So to say that the word of our Abba written in a book because it was penned by man, you don't trust and believe. I mean, that's like an oxymoron, my siblings, right? And so let's talk about some scriptures. Exodus 24, verse 4. And Moses wrote all the words of Yahawah and rose up early in the morning and built an altar on the hill, under the hill, 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. So Moses wrote all the words of Yahawah, not his words, Yahawah's words, my siblings. Exodus 24:12. And Yahawah said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tablets of stone, and a law and commandments, which I have written, that you may teach them. So I, my Abba, wrote words, gave to Moses, and said, you need to teach them. Okay. Exodus 34, verse 27, and Yahawah said unto Moshe, write these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with you in Yasharal. Again, write these words, Moshe. Proverbs 3:3, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them on your neck, my siblings in Amashia. Write them on the table of your heart, okay? Isaiah 30 verse 8, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, okay, that it may be for time to come forever and ever. Write, put it in a tablet, okay, that's what he's telling Isaiah. Jeremiah 20:9, then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. But his word was in my heart, as a burning fire shut up in my bones. I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. This is Pashar saying this. He was a chief governor. Jeremiah was told to go and say something to him from Abba, and he didn't like what Jeremiah was saying. I think he slapped him and threw him in prison or something. But Jeremiah 30, verse 2. Thus saith Childofthe1trueAlahyamYahawah, saying, write all the words that I spake unto you in a book. Write all the words that I spake unto you in a book, my siblings. Okay? And Habakkuk, I know you guys all know Habakkuk, right? Chapter 2, verse 2. Yahawah answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Okay, my siblings? Now, I mean, we can just stop here at 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is given by inspiration of Elohim and profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. My siblings, we can stop right here and call it a day. I've proved my point. Okay? But because you need more information, we're going to keep going. Okay? 2 Peter 1:20-21. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of scripture is of any private interpretation, for the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, okay, did not come by the will of man. Holy men of Elohim spake as they were moved by Ruach HaKodesh. My siblings. This is part one. We're going to go to part two. Come on.